people will join in as they get here. So good morning, everyone. I am Carrie Tripp. I am Director of Product and Sales for Discover New England. And one of my roles going forward is working on this education series. I'm so excited that this is our third in the series that we've been able to do. Rebecca has so kindly joined us after we heard from her colleague at Summit this past year. And we wanted the opportunity to really talk a little bit more about what this program is and then be able to answer some questions. So Q&A has been enabled for this webinar. So please feel free to jump in with any questions you have and we will monitor those. If I can answer them quickly, I will. If I can't, I will flag them and have Rebecca answer them. And then I just wanted to point out just quickly, the next webinar is on August 8th. So a little bit of a quick window on this one, but it will be talking about AI in hospitality and the new EU regulations, which is not easy to say. So that'll be the next one, and I'm working on an exciting one for September, so stay tuned because hopefully I'll have that nailed down really soon. So for those who don't know, Discover New England is a we're kind of the marketing arm for the 6 New England states, acting as a DMO when we are dealing with the consumer coming from abroad. We work specifically with travel operators, receptive operators, and media, trying to give great exposure to New England and all it has to offer as we travel. Our core countries are Ireland, the UK, and German-speaking countries, along with France and Spain. And we're recently doing some fun stuff in Mexico City. Michelle is working really this excellent partnership. So stay tuned for more information about what we're going to be doing with Mexico City as a new endeavor for the organization. So I'd like to now introduce Rebecca. As I said, Rebecca Bartlett-Jones, sorry. CSP is the Director of Business Development and Marketing for Green Key Global, the world's leading sustainability programs for hotels and meeting spaces. Rebecca's deep and successful sales experience is driving the continued expansion of Green Key Global in Canada and throughout North America at this time when sustainability is a key priority for hotel companies around the world. And we are definitely seeing that in our travels and our conversations when we are doing sales missions abroad. Rebecca has a proven record of facilitating long-term business relationships with both consumers and industry luminaries. Over the last 20 years, Rebecca has led global and national sales teams for Le Meridian Hotels and Resorts, Hyatt Hotels, IHG, and most recently, PSAV. Rebecca started her sales career at the King Edward Hotel Toronto before joining the Hazelton Hotel in Yorkville as the opening team business development director. There, she achieved the highest average room rate in Canada at the time. Rebecca was born in the beautiful countryside of Kent, England, where she graduated with a degree in hospitality and tourism before settling in the equally beautiful province of Ontario, Canada. Rebecca is passionate about the environment, sustainability, the welfare of children and animals, and experiencing new destinations. And here's my favorite tidbit that I just learned today. She is a published author of children's books. I think that is amazing. So Rebecca, I will turn this over to you. And you now have control.
Fantastic. Thank you, Carrie, for that lovely intro. Yeah, my children's books are about animals and sustainability. So Ollie the Owl, if you want to check him out. Yeah, we're delighted to be here and talk about the hotel certification and sustainability with Green Key Global. I'm going to share my deck with you in just a second, but I will also be sending that out so everyone can have a copy and use it as you will to talk about the program, etc. But as Carrie said, we're going to leave room for questions at the end. So let me share my screen with you. So here we go. Make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so we have been in the business at Green Key Global for a long time, 30 years of sustainability leadership. So even back in 1994, when we were established, when people weren't even talking about sustainability at all, we were starting to form our assessment and our certification program. We are the only certification created by hoteliers, specifically for hoteliers. So as you heard from the intro, my background is hotels, and everybody here at Green Key has been involved with hotel and tourism in one way or another. So we get it. We know all the things that hotels have to deal with every day, and we try and make it easy for sustainability to be top of mind. We are the leading sustainable certification in North America. And at the bottom there, we have a charity partner called One Tree Planted. So for every new member, we plant a tree for them. And that's kind of cool. You can actually, once you have your tree, you can check in on it as it grows and see how it's doing. So why is it important to buy into sustainability, first of all? Well, in the beginning, there are lots of cost savings. All the way through, there are lots of cost savings. And one example that I can give you is we had a hotel recently in Toronto who changed all of their incandescent bulbs in their bathroom mirrors to LED and saved themselves over $40,000 doing it. So lots and lots of savings just in the initiatives to do with sustainability. There are also government grants available. We work with Incentifind, which some of you might be familiar with, and we have a discount with them. So Incentifind can find grants, government grants, any grants, incentives, anything to do with sustainability that gives back to the property, usually in a monetary way. So those are available through Incentifind, and I have their contact details if anybody wants them. Employee engagement. Having a sustainable property does keep morales high. People come into work knowing that their place of work is actually contributing to the environment rather than taking away from it. Plus in sustainability now, the new things in sustainability are all about diversity, inclusion, and those things, of course, are very important to not only local communities, but all of your staff and guests. So there we go to guest satisfaction. When guests are included in the conversation about sustainability, it is very satisfactory for them. So one of the initiatives, say, for example, is not changing towels for every day, doing it, say, every 3 days. So you save on, obviously, labor, but you save on water, chemicals, etc., etc. Now, if the guest doesn't understand why their towels are not being changed every day, they won't be very receptive. But if you're able, and with our help, we will help. But if your properties are able to talk about their sustainability initiatives and what they're doing to help the planet, then the guests will get on board very quickly and be very satisfied with that. And of course, generating revenue. All of the larger companies in the world now have ESG or sustainability or environmental goals in some form or other. And that trickles down into their travel programs, of course. You'll see with obviously with airlines, they are offering carbon offsets and things like that. But ESG is top of mind for our clients. So hotels, if they are not sustainable and they don't have a certification to prove that they are sustainable and have an audit done, then they lose out on the opportunity. So they lose business. So we're going to OTAs a bit later, but people are looking for sustainably certified properties. So this is some stats just to back up what I'm saying. This was a Booking.com report from the end of 2023. And this number has actually gone up now by about 10% when they publish it soon. We will have those stats as well. But 80% of general people traveling say sustainability is important to them. That is up from 3 years ago. It used to sit at 50%. So sustainability is becoming more and more top of mind. 66% of Gen Zers, including my child, are they want to pay more for sustainable and environmentally friendly products. It's a part of nature now. And 65% would feel better about staying in accommodation if they knew it had sustainable certification. And that's Booking.com that say that. Now, the other side of that, as I just touched on, is RFPs. So all these companies want to know that the people that they're dealing with, the suppliers, their hotels, have science-based targets. And science-based targets are simply measuring your water and measuring the energy, measuring gas, and making sure that that amount of energy is reduced. So those are basically science-based targets. 36% of companies set science-based targets against emissions. 64 say that suppliers will be of some advantage in securing their business if they have a science-based target in place. So with Green Key Global, you will have science-based targets in place at your properties in your regions. We've also joined a very powerful partnership. So Green Key Global is actually owned half by the American Hotel and Lodging Association and half by the Hotel Association Canada. So any money that we make in any way goes back into the industry. So it is a win-win-win for everybody. So just recapping some of our benefits, occupancy from green travelers. Obviously, that's increasing day by day, saving money with energy savings and reducing the general carbon footprint. And what we do is we have a rigorous process, by rigorous meaning not arduous, but all-encompassing. A low-cost program, constantly updated. We're always updated to the latest standards. We actually had 3.5 million put into us from the government 2 years ago. So we were able to get to the very top of our game, and now we will stay there. And we're easy to use, and we're Global Sustainable Tourism Council recognized. Like I said, you receive this deck, and the QR code does work, and you can have a whole list of benefits there for your properties. Again, the advantages of third-party certification, competitive advantage, guest preference, increased bookings, and a positive brand image. Being a steward of environmentalism in the local community is such a positive place for every property. They will be looked up to, they will be able to green the supply chain, hire locally more easily, and really contribute to the local community and give back to the local community once they are certified. But we are aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm sure you will hear about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals over and over again. If you haven't, you will do soon, as these are the underpinning of sustainability, which was started by the United Nations back in the 90s. So there are many: no poverty, life on land, life below water, climate action. So our assessment actually covers every one of these 17 SDGs, as they're called. So what that means to the hotel properties is that they can actually say that their properties are aligned with, in some way, all of the SDGs. So this is our page of our online travel agent partners. I've circled a few that, of course, everybody will know. So what we do here is we send our certified property list to every one of these platforms, and we fill out all the paperwork, send the GDS code, send everything that is needed to list a property on these sites. It's very helpful because there is quite a lot of paperwork involved, and the hotels don't even have to worry about it. It's automatic, we update it all the time. Currently, it doesn't matter which level of sustainability you're setting at. You'll see in a moment that we have 5 levels, 1 to 5. But for the booking platforms currently, they just want to know if you're certified or not, and then you are listed. So a regular person, company can actually filter now by sustainability in all of these platforms, and filter out everybody that isn't sustainable. So again, you need to have that business edge, you need to be sustainable, certified and audited to be recognized by these platforms. Some of them are purely green on here, ecohotels.com, Green Travel Index, Book Different. They only accept sustainable properties in their program. So how it works, we cover the areas of environment, society, and economy. So these are the areas: energy and water conservation, solid and hazardous waste management. Hazardous waste management would be simply, like, say, batteries, for example. There is a company that I know of, Re2Cycle, in the US, that actually will drop off a box to people to have all their batteries put in, no matter what type of battery. Then they take it away. So you don't have to do anything, and you already scored points for that on the assessment, and you're helping the environment. Indoor air quality is the HVAC, is it working properly? Community outreach, we touched on. There are companies out there like Soap for Hope, Clean the World, that will take leftover products, recycle them, wash them, make them safe, and give them to women's shelters and homeless shelters and things like that in your local communities. And so great to reach out directly to the community there. And again, get your points. Building infrastructure. It's very simple, really. Are your windows not cracked? If they're cracked, is it letting in warm or cold air? Are your pipes sealed? Things like that. So that often sits in engineering at a property, but it's very important. Land use. You can actually use the grey water from sinks and showers with a very small adapter to irrigate land if your property has land, or if it doesn't, to water the plants in the property. Another way of doing that is to get one of those rain catching barrels. I see them in Costco all the time, and collect rainwater to water the plants, etc., and use less water. The new area of sustainability is environmental management. ESG, environmental social governance, corporate social responsibility, we hear all these words all the time, and regenerative tourism. So in this area sits really policies. So one of the first questions in the assessment is, do you have a sustainability policy, Mr. X Hotel? And the hotel might say, oh no, I don't yet. We have a template for that. So they can take our template, adapt it, and make that their policy. Great if they already have a policy. And then the same with the second question, do you have an action plan? The exact same thing. So that's the area that sits in. So what we advise is that the hotel property or meeting space, convention center, if they are assessing, forms a green team and somebody from each department. So take a hotel. Like I said, we know hotels. We have a hotel background. So we've split the assessment into these areas. Corporate environmental management could either be, if it's a brand, it could be the head office or corporate office, or usually it's the general manager. Housekeeping, food and beverage, conference, meeting facilities, and engineering. So if you broke up the assessment as about 260 questions into these areas, an expert from every one of these areas could answer their own questions. They can all be in at the same time, typing at the same time, as long as they save their work, keep saving it so you don't lose it. So, and then the one person in environmental management, or the GM, could then submit the whole thing. That helps actually the team spirit, everyone is involved. And then afterwards, we actually provide things called checklists for all of the sustainable checklist for all of the departments. So say the housekeeper can go in the morning, look at their checklist and say, hey, okay, these are things I have to do today to remain certified in sustainability and to increase the initiatives in my area. So it really works. We do understand that hotels are still going through a hard time, and now the purse strings have been tightened since COVID, we all get it. Perhaps that's not possible. So it can be done with one person as well, as long as they gather all the policies, etc. together. One person can do it, just might take a little bit longer. These are the levels that one can get to. So at one green key, which is still amazing, you're still sustainable, can be celebrated, as well as a 5 key, you basically have answered all the questions about policy, and then demonstrate that you're starting to measure your energy, water, and waste consumption, which would literally be a spreadsheet, and your property bills. When you get to 5 keys, you might be having pollinators, bees on the roof that can obviously pollinate, but also provide honey to the pastry. And then perhaps you have a vegetable garden, which is helping the planet in so many ways, but also could contribute to the kitchen. So many, or composting, many different ways that you can get to 5 keys, but it's a journey. And we always say this, it's a journey. You just start where you can, you're already contributing, you're already certified, and then you can build on your initiatives. So this is the process. This is my little process chart. Looks complicated, but I'll explain it to you. Everything is done online with us. Everything is an online process. So you register online, and you answer some basic questions like how many rooms you have, do you have a pool, do you have a restaurant, all those things, so that the assessment can figure out, okay, so they don't have a restaurant, so they don't need to answer the restaurant questions. They can opt out of that. So the assessment levels itself, so it's completely across the standard for everybody. So then you pay your fee, obviously your annual fee, and you are let into the assessment. So you're in the assessment, and you start to answer your 260 questions. Now, within the assessment, it does have a help option. So it's a little green guy, and if you press it, he says, okay, do you need help for this question? We have a template, we have a link, etc. So you're not alone when you get into the assessment. There's lots of help available. So you answer all the questions and then you submit your assessment. Now we have a mechanism that will say to you or to the property, listen, you didn't answer question 3, or you should have uploaded this for question 4. So go back and put those things in. And then when you get all the green ticks, it will give you your preliminary score. So it might say, okay, Hotel X, you have a 2 key right now. But there's also some low-hanging fruit questions over here in engineering that you could possibly answer and move up your level. So you can sit here for a bit, getting your score up or just up, getting your score up. And then when you're ready, you actually submit for your audit. Now, audit is a very important part of the whole process, especially with EU claims coming up, people being more stringent and getting rid of greenwashing altogether. So the audit can be done in 2 different ways. It's either an online audit, which is extremely robust, or an in-person audit. Now, the online audit is the one we recommend. It is cheaper and it has a less of a carbon footprint. So the audit is $500 and it's every 3 years. But lasts for 3 years. So what it entails is the auditor will contact the property, schedule a convenient date for one, and then the audit will take place on a tablet, a computer, a phone, or any device that you can actually zoom in on. So the auditor will be live, but on the tablet or phone, and ask you to walk around, or ask the property to walk around. Say they want to look and check refrigerants. Take me to the kitchen fridge area. I want to see such and such. They will have a lot of information already from the assessment that they have already checked. But they want to walk around, and it's just as good as them being live. There is, as I said, an in-person option if the hotel wanted to do that. It's $2,500 for every 3 years, which is a little bit more expensive, but that's because of the carbon footprint. But both are recognized by everybody and just as credible. So once your audit is done, it takes about 4 hours for a regular size 100-room property. If you have lots of gardens, it might take a little bit longer. And then if it's in person, it would probably take about 6 hours. Once done, and all the questions are checked, after 2 to 3 weeks, you will get your certification back. It will be online certification with your final key level. We do find that the key level usually goes up rather than down when the auditor gets there. So not a scary thing at all. He's there to help as well as audit. So at that point, you could even purchase a plaque for your hotel. We have some sustainable plaques that are absolutely lovely looking, or you can just stick with your certification as it is, the online version. So at this point, we also provide a performance report, which is extremely important. It's in 2 halves. The first half tells you, the property, exactly what has been done and all the initiatives that got you to your key level. And that can be shared with staff, it can be talked about, referred to, handed over to new managers, etc. And then the second half, which I think is even more important, is talking about how you can improve your initiatives and how you can get better and the things that you can do to be more sustainable. So that acts as your map for the future. And then finally on this page, we help market the effort. So we provide branded collateral, marketing tools, signatures, website banners. You'll of course the properties are featured on our website as being sustainable. And then also templates for guests. We have an in-room TV ad that properties can use talking about sustainability at this property that the guest is staying at. And then templates that you can put, say, in your bathroom to explain why the towels are not being changed and what sustainability is. So I went over most of these already, but the one at the bottom there, the expanded vetted vendor program, I didn't yet. So we do have a vendor program which is growing greatly with our partnership or our ownership now with AHLA. So we have vetted vendors that have gone through a code of conduct, so we know that there's no greenwashing, that are available across North America for any of our members. So it could be that you wanted to do something in composting, or you wanted to do something in kitchen waste and send it to the homeless, for example. We have vendors and companies that will do any one of those things for you, as well as vendors that can help you with finance, vendors that can help with the various carbon accounting. Some of the upcoming benefits that we have, enhanced webinars. We have a carbon accounting calculator, a very simple one to help you with initiatives. Say you're changing your laundry machines. For example, you just type in the pricing, how many you have, and it will show you short and long-term investment and output according to sustainability. We also have a carbon neutral event certification, which is very cool. So we can certify your individual events on site or at the corporate office or anywhere. So what this entails is this type of a calculator. You would enter everything about the event, how many people were going, where did they come from, did they car share, did they fly, did they get the train, and then also about the menu. Do you have a vegan element to the menu? Are you serving single plastic water bottles, and do you have disposable cutlery and all of that? So all those are answered, and then it will spit out a carbon footprint for the individual event. At that point, there can be some change of behavior. You can provide large jugs of water instead of the single plastic bottles. You can add a vegan element to your menu, etc. If you have charging stations for cars, that gives you more points, and then it will realign and you'll see your true carbon footprint, and that you can offset. We have a company called Carbon Zero that have discounted offset rates, and then that event can be declared carbon neutral. So you can stand up in front of everyone and say, this event is carbon neutral, and you could explain how, or you can just say the event is carbon neutral by Green Key Global. So that's it's a very cool way to really talk about your sustainable efforts as well. So some takeaways here, some easy takeaways that you can do, a property can do immediately with no capital investment would be hazardous waste recycling, the option for towels, waste and recycle program. I realize there are some states where that's harder, but this is an idea. Rain collection and utility measuring and tracking. So it's the measuring and tracking that's important rather than the end result. So baseline requirements. So if you do these things, you will pass the assessment straight away. A written sustainable policy in place, a written action plan. And again, I told you we have templates. You've assigned a green team. You separate your organic waste are separated from the regular waste stream. Your annual use and cost of electricity are being measured and tracked. The same with gas, the same with water, and the same with waste disposal and waste diversion. So then if you're doing those things, you've passed. Again, at the end of this deck, there's a QR code for more information and some marketing collateral that you can download. But I'm going to pause here for questions and stop sharing my screen. There we go. So Carrie, I don't know if we have any questions. Oh, okay. Oh,
Could not. I could not get myself in there to save my life. I am not seeing any questions yet, so I would love for folks to, if you have a question, please feel free to jump right in with it. I have it open. I think, Rebecca, one of the things for me in listening to you talk about this, I think this process seems like when you first hear about it or read about it, it seems so huge.
Yes.
But the way you can break it down can be very chunk or bite size. Is that, am
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to do it all at once either. You can take your time. No one is telling you to do this in a short time frame. Obviously you want to be certified, so as quickly as you can go to get certified, yes, but you don't need to do it all at once. And you can start at the lower level, like level 1, and you can stay there if you want, or you can move up to doing new initiatives. But I mean, it really is quite a simple process.
Do you find that when people actually start looking at the list to start the process, do you find that a lot of them are really kind of doing some of these things already, and therefore it makes it a little bit easier to dig into the whole process?
People are doing something, and of course we all have the electricity bills and the gas bills. You just really need to put that into a spreadsheet, and we have the spreadsheets available to help you. So yeah, it's people are really doing this already. And incidentally, Kerry, we have a member services team who can help. We are the assessment board, so we cannot give you the answers, but we can totally send you in the right direction. We can give you some help and tips. And if you were to call the number at the end of the presentation deck I'm going to send to you all, then a lovely man called Tyler will answer, and he will help you with everything.
That's fantastic. So we do have a question that just came in, and this is from Catherine in Vermont. We have many small lodging establishments, and this seems geared more towards larger hotels to be affordable. Do you have options for smaller establishments, more like bed and breakfast or smaller inns? I did not set this up, Rebecca. Rebecca and I were talking about this prior to the start of the webinar. I did not ask Catherine to do this. So good job, Catherine.
Yeah, great question. And it is something that we're looking into. So currently it is the same price for no matter what size of property you have. But it's not unreasonable though either. So it's $950 annual rate, registration rate, and then it's the $500 audit for every 3 years. So that's the most it possibly could be. But what Kerry and I are going to be looking into is possibly having some breaks for smaller establishments. But saying that, the whole program is appropriate for any type of establishment. So like I said, if you don't have a restaurant or a pool, the assessment realigns itself, takes out those questions, you don't have to answer them, and it's fair for everybody. But yes, I mean, we are a reasonable program. There are lots out there that are much more expensive. But Kerry and I will work together to see what we can do.
Fantastic. Thanks for the question, Catherine. A question for me, actually, I was having a conversation about this webinar yesterday, and the person asked me, and I did not know the answer, if a management company or even an individual owner owns 1, 2, or 3 properties or more, is it the assessment is charged per property? Is that correct? Or is there?
Yes, it is. It's per property. Now, the only exception to that rule would be if 2 or 3 hotels were clustered in one building, or like say on a corner, like sometimes you have a conference center next door that's also being assessed. So then it's treated as one.
Okay.
So I've had that question a few times, especially like in the larger states like New York. You have so many of those properties that are squished together.
Right. Well, we actually in New England, we have one property that actually has 3 hotels under the roof, which is a really interesting model. I had not seen it before. So
Fabulous.
Right. It's an interesting question and thought process. Any other questions from folks? I don't want to be the only one asking, because I can keep going. Is starting just as easy as reaching out? If someone today
Yes.
is watching this and says, I want to start the process tomorrow, is it as easy as just reaching out to start?
Absolutely. You can reach out if you need to start asking questions. You can just call the number on the or the QR code. But otherwise, just go onto the website and start the process. It says join, and that's it. As you join, and like I mentioned, everything is online. You start the process, and as long as you keep saving your information, you can go back to it as many times as you want. And like I said, there's no timeline. No one's pressurizing you. It's your own timeline.
Do you pay as soon as you go on and register to do it, or do you pay after the questionnaire? And
you pay at the beginning.
Okay, great. What other questions do you get asked, Rebecca? I know you do these a lot, so there's got to be common.
Well, I'm often asked, like, how easy is the assessment to do? When are the questions difficult? And they're not. There is information that every hotel property should have on site. And I'm asked, how long does it take? And it can take any time you like. Typically, I see it take about 3 weeks. So if you have the resources to have a green team, about 3 weeks for them all to like obviously do their daily tasks, and we're all busy in hotels, so they carve out that time to ask some of the questions like in a day, so about 3 weeks. And another question I'm asked is, how long does it take to get the certification after audit? And it's normally 2 weeks.
Great, great. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions come in.
Well, you know what, if anybody wants to ask after the webinar, just call the number on the webinar that I'm going to send out right now, and either Tyler or myself will answer, and we'd be glad to help you one-on-one and explain anything else that you need to know.
I think that's fantastic. I'm really excited about this program for a couple of reasons, but probably most importantly, when Michelle and I are at trade shows or traveling in Europe, we are often asked about sustainability practices
Yes.
within our hotels, within our properties, and attractions, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, there's some that are doing it really super well and communicate that to us, some that are doing it but maybe don't realize how much they're actually doing. And I think it'd be
Yeah.
really interesting for them to get to a point where they know what they're doing. But I can say it is something that the companies, the tour operators are looking at because their clients are looking at it. So as folks are getting further and further back into the international market, I think this is something to really consider about what you're doing on your property and how you're doing it, right? So I know different companies have different processes, but to look into a certification that is kind of globally known, I think is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and remember, it's a return on investment too. You get money back from doing this in the end. You got a little bit of output, and then you get all the savings and everything back.
that's fantastic. All right, great. Well, if there's no more questions, which I haven't seen anything pop up, Rebecca, I do appreciate your time this morning. I'm so glad we were
Thank
able
you.
to make this happen. And for folks, this will be the recording of this will be posted on the Discover New England website of past education trainings. We look forward to continuing this conversation, and please don't hesitate to share this among your other hotel cohorts, friends, whatever, or people you think that are very interested in this. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I mean, you're welcome to ask me a question and I may just need to refer you back to the source, but I'm always happy to talk with people. So Rebecca, again, thank you so much for your time. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. Oh.